Welcome to Mountain Bike Action. My name is JJ, and today we are riding the Eminent Haste. As you can see, this has a high pivot design. It has 15 millimeters of rearward axle path, which supposedly makes this thing great on the downhills because it gets out of the way of the rocks as opposed to just bouncing up over them. So we're going to test that out, and we're going to see what we think, and we're going to tell you what we think. So before I talk for too much longer, I'm going to ride it, and you're going to come with me.
First, a little about Eminent Cycles and its owner and engineer, Jeff Soncrant. Jeff has an engineering degree he originally utilized in the automotive industry, but soon his obsession for mountain bikes won over to the point where he created his own company, Eminent Cycles, based out of San Diego, California. Climbing on the Haste MT was overall a good experience. For a bike with 160 millimeters of travel, it all but glided up the hills with ease and grace. But there was this one thing. See, with too much anti-squat, you start to get into a territory where the rear suspension isn't active at all, and with a claimed 120% anti-squat, the Haste MT encroaches on that territory. To a point, it was like riding a hardtail when riding up loose tech, in a way where the rear tire, instead of rolling over small rocks and debris, was being pushed aside by them. It didn't cause us to throw a burnout into a catastrophic dismounting failure, but it was a noticeable attribute. Another noticeable but not altogether concerning quality was the low bottom bracket, which led to many a pedal strike on tight traverses or when navigating a rock garden. Again, not an issue, but something we thought we'd mention. Overall, the Haste MT climbs very well, always leaving us with plenty of energy for what we actually want to do on this bike: descend. Now, before we move on to reviewing the descending performance, let's talk suspension. We've already mentioned the suspension's 15 millimeters of rearward axle path, which simply eats up square edge bumps as they come at you. The AFS, or active float system, has a massive upper rocker arm for a more direct force transfer to the floating shock for increased sensitivity. The brake mount is independent of the suspension's rotational forces, making the braking much more effective and keeping the active suspension feel even when hard on the brakes. This system has a linear suspension progressivity with a gain of 30% progressivity towards the end of the stroke that helps take care of those harsh bottom outs on the big sends, something we took full advantage of. All other specs can be found on the screen, or you can visit Eminent's website linked below. The Haste MT is a big bike. It's long, raked out, and not terribly light. All of this combines to make an excellent bike for high-speed rock smashing, much like a downhill bike. Our favorite type of trail to ride on the Haste MT was steep and wide open with very few tight corners. But that's not to say it couldn't take corners. High-speed cornering with such a planted feel was a dream and allowed for us to stay off the brakes more often. In the same way, big sendy jumps and drops were approached with less fear than normal because we knew the bike could handle any case or compensate for any mistake we might make. Being that this bike is at home at high speeds, it would make sense that it's a little cumbersome when the trail slows down and tightens up. Our struggle was mainly with trails with tight switchbacks or low speed corners where the front end wanted to push out on us. Pedaling in flat sections was also interesting with the instant stiffening of the suspension under power, but it didn't provide that much of a concern in general. So, was there anything we hated about this bike? Well, one of our notes was the loud nature of the idler pulley when pedaling. It was more annoying than anything, with a constant humming when spinning, and it could also be felt through the pedals. The dropper was a little bit annoying because you had to unweight it to activate it, which resulted in slight delays when dropping the post for downhills or awkward moments when coming to a stop. Once gotten used to, it wasn't a big deal, but just a bit annoying. Another annoying thing was the bottle cage bolts were too short for the bottle cages we attempted to mount, so we ended up just carrying water bottles on our packs. There were also a few things we loved. We loved the Trp Brakes as well as the tire spec with this build. At the end of the day, it was a great bike to ride when on wide open Enduro or DH trails where the average speed was high. It also gave us some confidence to hit jumps we'd normally be scared of on smaller bikes, so that was super cool. The world of high-performance enduro bikes is extremely saturated these days, so it's cool to see a guy like Jeff take a crack at it with the Eminent Haste. Overall, we'd say he's been pretty successful and are excited to see what the future of Eminent cycles looks like. As far as the Haste MT, it's a good bike, and if you ride a lot of bike parks and open enduro trails, you'll love it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, leave a like and a comment. If you didn't, let us know why. Comment what you'd like to see in future videos, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. Also be sure to check out our monthly magazine either by the link below or at your local newsstand. Thanks for watching Mountain Bike Action. We'll see you next time.